Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours wants to record 1,000 loiners over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and just tell me what they do all day and let me record how this affects us. Thank you for listening. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, that was a good question. I always was interested at school in cookery and art. And the two things combined were sort of showed my creativity, really. And while I was at school, I wanted to be a domestic science teacher. But then when they said, oh, you've got to go to uni, you've got to stay on at school, I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. So I decided to take a different path, and I went to catering college. And during my time at catering college, I was kind of always in the back of my mind, I was going to do something food related because I love food, and I was always cutting out recipes out of books and one thing and another. So I think it was always going to be food related, and I always knew that I was going to work for myself, partly because I didn't really like being told what to do, but because my dad had always run his own business, and my mum had had a couple of businesses as well. So I kind of just thought that that's what you did. You work for yourself. Yeah. Always was going to be food related, and it was always going to be my own business of some sort at some point, which it ended up being.
You're listening to Series 5, Episode 2, and to my guest, Tracey Earl. This is another Squadcast interview recorded on the 30th of January, 2024. Tracey Earl, along with her husband Ian, runs We Are in Business, a business networking group. We Are in Business helps solopreneurs and small and startup business owners to grow their networks, gain new skills, and build confidence in themselves and their business. After running their own businesses for many years, Ian and Tracey knew being a business owner can be a lonely place a lot of the time. People often start their businesses because they are good at what they do, but running a business requires skills you might not have, might not want, or might not be able to acquire. So they co-created We Are in Business, a networking and business support community for SMEs and startups in Leeds. We Are in Business gives Leeds business owners a vital support network around themselves early on, where they can exchange knowledge and experiences around the different aspects of running a business. We Are in Business is a community that supports, collaborates, and advocates for each other, both in their online and face-to-face networking events. Tracey says that surrounding yourself with a supportive network of business owners is the best way to grow and develop your business. Right, let's do this, episode 112 of Working Hours with Tracey Earl. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to jump straight into what are you doing now then?
Right. Well, it isn't food related, but it is my own business. But that has come as a result of a business I had previously.
Right.
So what we do is, me and my husband Ian, we run a networking group. So we get solopreneurs and small business owners, and we help them to grow their businesses. We help them to gain some skills and confidence in themselves and in their business. And after running my own business for a number of years, well, both Ian and I realised that being a business owner can be quite lonely. So hence why we set up the In Business, just to help people to get those additional skills and to have that support network around them, really.
You mentioned Bill then. Is that your business partner?
Ian.
Ian, sorry. Ian.
Bill. Yes, Ian. No, it's my husband. Well, he is my business partner, but he's my husband as well.
Okay.
So yeah. So we're kind of together 24/7. We are a bit joined at the hip. Everywhere we go together. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those, because I can see the attraction of that, but I can also see how people will be like, oh God, I couldn't do that. So yeah, the next question is, how did you get into it? So if you tell us, like, how did you both come to set up this business? What was the thing that was like, let's do this together and set something up?
Yeah. Well, like I say, I started my own business as a cake maker. So hence the food related creative kind of business, all those, like about 30 years ago, you see. And that came as a result of having my daughter, who was born with severe disabilities, shall we say. And she had complex medical needs, which meant, as a new mum, my time was spent attending appointments and physiotherapy, speech therapy, one thing and another. So it was quite time consuming, and I obviously couldn't go back to work. So I thought, I had worked in restaurants and I had worked in a bakery, so I had got those sort of skills to produce cakes. So I thought, I could make the odd cake here and there, when she's asleep or in bed or whatever. So I started that business from home, very, very small, which over the years grew to be quite a good business. But with working from home, it was really lonely. And, you're wearing all the hats of running a business, of marketing and one thing and another. And you don't know how to run a business. You're good at what you do. More often than not, people start a business because they are good at what they do. But marketing or accounting, whatever, is just totally alien to you. Running a business is different ballgame altogether. So I did eventually get a shop, and I had a shop for about 15 years, which again brought its own, you've got the stock control management of the shop and all the rest of it. So the actual running of the business was quite a big thing. And I didn't know any other business people apart from maybe the accountant next door and the sandwich shop down the road. I didn't have a support network. And when I eventually sold that business, I realised that actually you need that. I mean, obviously I built that up over time because I had the shop for 14 years and worked from home before that. So it's just having people around you as a business owner that makes the difference to that, because it is really lonely. And it's having that community of support and knowing that other people have been there and done that or are feeling the same way as you are. If you're having a bad day, the phone's not rung or you've not had any leads come through, it's just knowing that it's all right and, it will be okay. You just need to get back on track or whatever. And so that we realised that that's what we wanted to do. Now, he'd obviously worked for himself as well, and he'd done a lot of networking through BNI, which is great. We don't ever knock BNI because it does work, and we know a lot of people get a lot of business. Otherwise, they wouldn't be such a massive corporation. But we felt that for small business owners or solopreneurs, it is quite hard to be a member of BNI because there's so many enforcements, to bring visitors, to bring referrals. And to begin with, when you're starting your business, you haven't got all those people around you. So it's a bit of chicken and egg. You need to go networking to get the connections, but you can't go networking with BNI because you can't bring the connections. So we decided that we would do it a little bit differently. Hence why when we started, it was going to be, it was more of not a referral organisation. It's just more support and community. And And we also wanted to throw in a little bit of education as well. So we had education sessions, or we still have education sessions actually, at our online meetings, just so that people can just learn a little bit, take a little nugget of information away about. I mean, today it was a lady talking about imposter syndrome. We all suffer from that self-doubt, and just knowing that other people feel like that is great. So so the education sessions just give new business owners a little bit of a insight into things that they perhaps don't know as much about as they really should.
So with your own business, how, I mean, obviously you set that up before you had the shop. I mean, you've gone through a few years of running the business, and you talked about there the sort of setting up for yourself, doing something that you feel that you're good at for yourself, but then all the stuff that you don't feel you're good at, you put into one side, kind of thing. How did you, I mean, I'm thinking, because anything I know about an organization, I've basically learned from being in organizations. Did you have any of that? Did you have any of that sort of employment in larger organizations where you sort of became more aware of the bureaucratic side of the machine of business?
No, I didn't really. I mean, I was only employed really for about 6 years before I had my daughter. So and they were both, it was a fairly small hotel, and it was a fairly small baker's where I was. My dad had his own business, but by the time I opened my shop, my dad had died, so I couldn't really sort of consult with him. And I think before I got the shop, I didn't see it as a real business. I was just working from home making cakes. And it wasn't until I got the shop that I felt like I was a proper business owner. And there was much more than I thought to it. But I learned over the years, and you just learn by experience, and I think it took me a while. It did take a while, but I got there in the end.
I mean, do you feel like since then you've just learned a wealth of stuff? Because I mean, I guess just working with all the different businesses and the different people, and trying to facilitate links within the networking, because you can't just be like, all of you go in this room and now network. You have to put some kind of structure in, some kind of format in, I guess, and some kind of theme or plan around it. So how do you go about that, and how did you sort of learn those skills? Was that trial and error, or was that the combination of you and your business partner working together? Or
I think I've learnt. I mean, I learnt a lot while I was running my business, but I think I've learnt even more since from other people, from other business owners. And I think it's just talking with people that, as a business owner, that's what you need to do. And that is how you help yourself in business. It's no good just being on your own and thinking you can do it, because you can't. Well, you can, but it just takes an awful lot longer. So, yeah, I think it was just the seeing other people and talking to them, and yeah, that is how you learn, isn't it? And you pick up snippets of information. So I can't remember what the rest of the question was.
about basically how you come up with the kind of format, and how did you come up with this being a business? Like, how do you? So is it a membership fee, and you have to keep it low, but the number's high? Like, how have you made it a business?
Yeah. It is a membership. People can try it a couple of times before they decide to join, or whether we invite them to join. And it's got to be a right fit for them. They've got to know that it will suit them. If they're expecting referrals every week, then we're not the people, we're not the networking group for them. If they're looking for community and support, then yes, we possibly are. They've also got to like the people that are already in the group. And I mean, some people don't like that there could be somebody else. We say, I mean, at BNI, you can just have one person per category. But we don't say that. We say, at the moment, we allow a couple of people. So we could have 2 recruiters, we could have 2 website guys, but there's always room for collaboration. Some people don't always see that, and they think, oh, there's another HR person. Oh, well, I can't join because there's too much competition. But there's so many ways people can collaborate. We were talking to a guy the other day, and he said, it's great. He said, I've met somebody. He said, same thing as me. He said, but I don't do some of what he does, and he doesn't do some of what I do. So they were sort of forming this relationship, and we're going to, maybe have a chat about, passing that kind of work between the two of them. So there is always room for collaboration as well. So that was, we didn't want to put that restriction on things. We wanted to include the education, like I said before, to help people to learn a little bit quicker. And yeah, so that we do basically have a membership, but at our face-to-face events, you can just pay as you go and just come along to that. So yeah, I think when we first started, which is 6 years ago, we were just face-to-face, and it was a membership, and people were paying for like a year in advance. But it was when COVID hit that it was quite apparent that you can't just ask for somebody for 300 quid or 400 quid or whatever it was at the time. I can't remember. And that's when we made it into the membership, which was a bit more of a sustainable way of doing things and an easier way for people to pay monthly. It is easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you can break it down into small chunks.
Yeah, and then for that month, you can't go this month, or you can go that month, and you can plan a bit better. So I'll move on to COVID, but before I do, I'll just want to go back to, you mentioned face-to-face meetings. So you're doing a combination of online and face-to-face?
Yes, we are now. Yeah. We went just online during COVID, so we had good 2 years online, and then last couple of years we brought it back in. So so it's a combination of both, because people like to do things differently. Some people just like the online, some people just like the face-to-face, and some people like both. We picked up members from kind of all over the country. We had people in Scotland, Hull, down south, and we've actually just had a guy join us from Sweden. So the online is great for that, and we've talked to some fantastic people all over the world, which we never would have done had we just stayed, not had COVID and had the face-to-face stuff.
So I'll jump into COVID. So the question around this is in 2 parts, basically. First of all, going into lockdown, I want you to sort of remember at the time, like, what was the workload like? Did it not change? Did it go up massively, or did it just fall off a cliff? And then the second part of this is, coming out of COVID, are there anything, like, has your work been changed by it? Is there anything that sort of changed how you work coming out of COVID?
Going into COVID, we were one of the first networking groups to go online, because the week before Boris made his announcement, we had a lady who was going to come and talk about, I can't remember, business coaching she was doing or something. And she rang me up a couple of days before. She said, I think I might have this COVID thing. She said, I don't think I'd better come. So his first thought was, well, we can maybe Zoom you into the room. And then everybody else getting a bit twitchy and a bit, is there going to be a meeting? Is there not? Whatever. So we said, well, why don't we just do the whole thing online? So we did the week before. We didn't have a format. It was just all a bit haphazard, but we threw it together, and it was fine. And people were like, oh yeah, this is good. I like it. Now, 6 months ago, 6 months prior to that, if you'd have said you're going to be doing something online, people would have been like, oh, we're not doing that. And I think the uptake at the beginning was brilliant, because everybody suddenly realised, oh my God, we're going to be at home. We're not going to speak to anybody. And this is the only way to do it. And it was, we'd have 30, 40 people wanting to be on the online call, and the support that people were giving each other was just amazing. So it did. I mean, we didn't because we were, people were paying on a yearly basis before, all those who had paid were classed as members, and then that's when we could start with the membership, the monthly membership. But I think for the first 2 or 3 months, we didn't charge anybody anything because we didn't feel like we could. But then we thought, actually, no, this could be a viable business. And we thought, well, what have we got to lose? And we just went kind of all in, really, with that. And then coming out of COVID, what was the question about that?
Has it changed your work? Like, do you work differently now because of COVID? I mean, I guess the answer is yes, because you've got the online offer now
Yeah.
as well. But do you think that would have come anyway? Do you think?
It might well have done. I don't know. In fact, about 6 months before, like I said, Ian had said, "Oh, I've heard about this Zoom." He said, "I wondered if people would want to do it," and we just looked at each other and went, "Nah." But maybe over time they would have done. We don't know. You know, we'll never know, will we? But
No.
but it has been. It's been good. It has been good for us. It did work, and we're still keen to keep the online going because of where we've picked up members from. And if you can do what you do virtually, then there's no reason why you can't work with someone in Scotland or Sweden or wherever. As long as you've got that relationship with them. We feel like we know people well enough through the screen. Some people say, "Oh, you can't build proper relationships online," but I actually disagree with that, and I think that yes, you can, because we've got some fantastic members, and some of them we have never met, but we know that they are good people, and you wouldn't go far wrong doing business with them.
So was it difficult to kind of redesign the offer to go online, or was it just we do what we do already and we can map this across quite easily?
Yeah, it took a bit of tweaking. We cut the education sessions down from half an hour to quarter of an hour because people lose interest, don't they, online? It's not quite as like being in a room. Yeah, we kind of tweaked it as we went along. It probably took us maybe 6 months to get to the formula that we've got now. And even now, sometimes we'll throw in something else that we'll try this, we'll do this, just to make it a bit different.
How did it affect the numbers? Did it, like when she kind of cracked being online, did it suddenly go massive, or did you kind of keep around the same numbers? Or
we kept around the same numbers purely because we didn't want too many people. It does take too long for people to also. We have a little introduction where everybody can say what they do. If you've got 100 people, you just couldn't do that, so it wasn't manageable. So the numbers, kept around sort of the 30 mark for a while. They've dropped off a little bit now. We're probably on about 20, 25 some days. But it's a good number, and you can get some breakout rooms in there, and people can get chatting to one another. So that's what it's all about, really.
So I'm guessing, largely it's networking. It's largely startups. I mean, how many sort of older businesses are kind of involved still?
There's still a few, and we've got some with a few employees, some that are probably like 10 years old, but they're still like that support. I think we feel that we work best, or we can help younger businesses and people on their own. We feel like we can help them more, but by the same token, the older businesses can help the newer businesses. So, it's great to have them as part of the community as well.
So let's do Brexit next. I don't know if this will have affected you at all, but like as far as you can tell, since we have Brexited, has there been any change to your work? Has there been an increase in numbers, a drop in numbers? Has it just stayed about the same?
Yeah, I've not really noticed anything significant at all. So,
Is there any change in
no.
the kind of businesses, the kind of startups that you're getting and stuff, or have people tweaked their offer? I guess I'm asking if like, are people starting to change how they conceive of their business when they haven't necessarily got that market?
Um, I think there will be people who have had to alter what they do.
Mm,
I mean, I know that during a lot of our members actually started up during COVID
mm,
for various reasons, whether it was because they got made redundant, or whether they just thought, oh, blow this for a game of soldiers. I'm gonna start my own business while I can.
hmm.
But I don't know. I honestly don't know with our members whether Brexit has actually made any
Yeah,
difference.
nothing that you've noticed that you're like, oh,
No.
everyone's doing this now. um, okay, so I'll jump straight into the climate change question, and then because I think we'll probably spend more time on social media. So the question is basically like, within the business, is there anything you can do, like kind of how climate change impacts you? But at the moment, that's unless your house has been flooded or you couldn't operate because it got too hot or whatever, you're not really going to see impacts on your business. But is there
No.
anything within your work, or maybe even within the meetings, where you can deal with things like adaptation, mitigation, and awareness raising for climate change?
I've seen a lot more people, talking about sustainability and making businesses out of sustainability and making their businesses more eco-friendly and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good that people are making businesses from
Mm-hmm.
it. Surprising what people can actually develop a business out of. So yeah, it's good to see that. But from our perspective, I don't think there's anything much.
Well, I mean, you're locally based anyway, so it's not like you have to have, you're flying people in from all over the world or
No.
anything, and you're not burning coal to get your meetings going or anything. So I guess you're fairly low impact, and most of your network, I guess, is going to be local. And most of those businesses as startups are going to be fairly locally focused, unless they've got some
Mm.
capital investment. But then it's like, well, they're going to be big anyway. So I'm guessing that most of the people in your network are people, like you say, solopreneurs, and
Mhm.
one or two people starting out. So they're going to
Yeah.
be quite locally focused to begin with.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
So let's do social media.
Hmm.
I expect this is probably quite a big area for you, or
Yeah.
maybe one that you want to be growing in. Um,
Mm.
so what I want to look at here is sort of how much time you spend on it, and whether you think the amount of time you put into it is well spent and you get the return that you want. Especially talking to small businesses and startups, a lot of the time the answer is no. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I spend ages on it. I put loads of stuff out. I've no idea why people respond to stuff and other stuff they don't look at. And so
Yeah.
how do you find that experience of social media? And is that something that you've really had to get a handle on in terms of running this business?
Yeah, yeah, because I before I didn't I didn't really do social media for. I mean, I'd put the odd picture of a cake on
Mm,
to social media, mainly Instagram, and of course, I had a shop front, so that was my marketing,
mm,
and people would come to me. Whereas with this business, to begin with, it was really hard. I found it really hard going out looking for people, going to networking events, talking about what we do.
mm,
And social media has really helped, but it has taken a lot of effort. We're on it every day. We're on LinkedIn mainly.
mm,
We do Instagram.
mm.
We were toying with the idea of TikTok, but I'm still not brave enough to do the old videos. Um, but definitely, it plays a huge part because we haven't paid for any anyone to do our social media for us. So everything that we've done is through us, and we have put a lot of time and effort in, and it is starting to pay off now because people are actually getting to know who we are and what we do. So it has worked. It was just a bit of a shock for me at the beginning to have to do all that and to work out, how to do it, what to say, and to get our sort of brand voice right and stuff. And I still don't even know if I've got that right or not. But anyway, we post, and people say to us, "Oh God, you're all over social media, you're all over LinkedIn." But then, other people say
They never see you.
not everybody sees
Yeah.
everything, do they? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is, but anyway, it's worked. It has worked for us, and we're getting inbound leads now from social media and from our website as well. So it is starting to pay off, and it's like, whew, actually, yeah, it does work.
So do you enjoy it now? Do you actually enjoy the creating posts and putting things out?
Yes,
Yeah.
we've actually got a plan now as well, which I did a course before Christmas, a marketing course before Christmas, and we're sort of planning a month at a time. I'm scheduling what I can where there's no links involved, because I know that when you put links into a post, it's not as good. So I'm scheduling what I can. So that just makes life a whole lot easier. Apart from the fact that it's coming to the end of the month and we need to do it again for February. But yeah, it's we do have a plan.
I mean, I suppose it's nice with your business in that you are, even if you're not getting them physically in a space, you are meeting the people that are seeing your stuff, or not, if depending on what their algorithm's saying to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that must be quite nice to be able to kind of get the feedback and just sort of see if they are landing, if people seeing it, if they like it, if they notice it. Have you found that? Has that been of any use, or is that more sort of just anecdotal, or has it been like, oh, that's really useful?
I mean, if we're putting a post on about an event, if we've done an event and I've put several pictures on, quite often you'll see a few people book on for the next event because they've seen that, and you think, yeah, and you can see the emails dropping in with where people have booked. So you know that it's having some sort of impact. Either people are worried they're going to miss out, or they think, oh, that looks like a good event, I'll go along. So yeah, you can see the impact.
So how do you induct new starters? Is it just with an icebreaker, or do you have like a map of like a process map of like, here we go, you come and do this, and then you do this, and then you'll be up to speed, and then, or is it just come in, introduce yourself, everyone's going to do introductions, and we go from there?
Yeah, it's more like that, really. I mean, we don't have like a program as such, for people to work through, but we do have, when people join us as a member, we do have a library of all the videos for the past 4 years of these education sessions on there. So if if there was something that they particularly wanted to know, then I'm sure if they trawl back over the years, they would find something that would fit the bill, for them to learn something about. Because we did think of doing like a program, like a 12-month program, that was rolling. But then, of course, if you get your members there for longer than a year, then they're going to see the same thing again. So we try to vary it and get, even if we talk about the same subject, we'll get a different speaker who's got a different perspective on it. And, you can always learn. We can always learn something. Every day is a school day, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's like you mentioned in that marketing course, and I'll go, like I do things occasionally, and I've done a lot of things around film where you go to things and it's like, I know most of this, but they're useful to go to, because normally you learn at least one new thing where it's like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And hopefully you meet one or two people, but you're also getting yourself out there and getting known, because that's the other side of networking, isn't it? It's not just about meeting people who can help you. It's about putting yourself out and say, hello, I'm here and I'm doing this. Like if you meet anyone who wants that doing, Think of
Yeah.
me.
Yes. Yes. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Without, you want to say that without saying it, don't you? You want people to, you want to be front of people's minds. So, yeah. So by developing those relationships, then, that's when people will remember you and will be able to be your advocates, really, when they go to other events or sitting with the family talking, oh, the boiler's blown up, I need a plumber or whatever, if they can pass on people's details.
So how do you get in front of people? Like, how do you find new businesses? Where, I mean, like you say, they're they're alone, they're working on their own, they're going, how do I do this? Like, how do you find those people?
Good question. Good question. Again, it's been a bit of trial and error. I mean, yeah, a lot of it is on LinkedIn and connecting with people. But we've also been, like you say, to courses ourselves
Mm,
where there are other small businesses on the course, so you get to chat with them as well, and say, well, why don't you come along and see what we can do.
mm,
So yeah, it's and sometimes we go to the co-working spaces. In there's a Santander Works cafe. There's people
mm,
there, and yeah, it's just getting to talk to as many people as we can, really.
mm. So do you do quite a bit of footwork as well? Will you go out and sort of visit places to try and find people?
We have done in the past,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Not so much recently because we seem to have be busy with our own events.
Mm,
And when people do come along to the events, then obviously we follow up and make sure that we invite them back or have a chat with them or something
mm.
after the event.
Cool. So, next question is the change question. So,
Mm.
if you could, so you can be fantastic, or you can be very pragmatic, or you can just have one, have two. You don't have to change
Yeah.
anything if you don't want to or need to. But
Hmm.
if you could change any three things about your work right now, what would you change?
What would I change? Either like an extra pair of hands or more hours in the day
Hmm.
to do, I don't know, more social media. I don't know what
To
to do.
get more
But
done
yeah,
in one day than,
yes,
yeah.
to get more done. And then I could, our aim this year was to work 4 days and have Fridays off.
Hmm.
So far, it's not it's not panned out like that.
It's early in the
Um,
year.
yeah, yeah. Other than that, we love what we do, and we probably wouldn't change anything, especially not the lovely people that we get to. I know that sounds really cheesy. The
It
lovely
doesn't
people
though.
that we get to our events, because we love seeing people sort of helping and supporting and collaborating with each other, and we do seem to get some lovely people at our events.
Mm.
Um,
Most people are
so
great.
yeah, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't change much really, apart from, yeah, maybe having a Friday off every so often.
Yeah.
um,
More business and
but
more free time.
yeah, more free time. But yeah, no, we do enjoy what we do, and it's nice to be able to have the flexibility that we've got.
Mm,
If I need to go see my mum, well, I do go see my mum, and Ian goes to see his mum. Or if our grandson needs picking up from school, we can say, right, okay, well, we'll finish early today. It's that
mm,
flexible side of things. So no, I don't think there's much we would change really.
mm. Yeah. Maybe like a massive free marketing budget or something. Or
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
gifts welcome. Quite happy, but gifts are welcome. Um, so yeah, I'll jump straight into UBI. So universal basic
Mhm.
income.
Yeah.
This might be worth it. Well, I'll let you answer first, but then I'll throw in a follow up question. But yeah, if
Mhm.
there was a universal basic income, how do you think that might change your work? Would you work more, less? Would you maybe do something different, or it wouldn't have really affect what you do?
Um, I still think we would work because we do enjoy what we do.
Mm,
And it's not exactly hard work. It's not like we're going digging trenches, and it's not hard physical work.
yeah.
It just keeps us busy
Hmm.
with what we do. So I don't think it would change much from our perspective, but I think from other people's perspectives, I think it might encourage more sort of innovation and entrepreneurship. I think people would think, oh, well, I'm getting this amount of money. Now might be a time to start my own business. So, there could be
You could have
that.
more to do.
Yeah. It could be that people are going to take more risks and, maybe start their own business. Something that we've thought of for years and just decided to do. And it would, I suppose, it would maybe boost the economy as well, wouldn't it? And people would maybe invest more in our networking group, because I know a lot of small businesses, when they're starting up, they don't have a lot of cash. Even though they need, like I said before, it's a bit chicken and eggy. You need connections, but if you can't afford to go, then you can't get the connections. So, maybe if there was this sort of basic income that they had, they could invest in these things that would help their businesses to improve in a much faster way, really, and to develop their businesses.
Yeah. I mean, the subsequent question, I'm thinking, with the cake making business, if that had been on the table then, would you still set up the cake making business? And would it have just made things maybe easier for you? Or would you have been like, this helps, I don't need to do that? I kind of get the feeling that you would have wanted to be doing something anyway, that it wasn't just to be like extra cash or I've got to make money.
It was a bit of needing extra cash in the beginning, but I did absolutely love what I did. I loved the creative side of it, and I loved being part of people's celebrations. I would have still have done that. I still would have done that because I did enjoy it so much. I can't say it would have stopped me working.
Well, that's my questions done. So I'll throw it over to you to give us the socials. So where can people find you and what's coming up?
Yeah, we are on LinkedIn under We Are in Business on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram, We Are in Biz. And we are on Facebook as well, which is just In Business on Facebook. So that's theirs. We've got our website is weareinbusiness.co.uk. And we've got a whole host of events lined up for you. We've got an event this week in Wakefield at a new co-working space. It's actually where we hold our events in Leeds at Two Works. They've opened a new one at the Tile Yard in Wakefield, which is a fabulous space. They've regenerated these old mills, and it's beautiful what they've done with the place. So Two Works invited us along again to host a networking event there. So we're launching this week there, which is really exciting, and we've got loads of people booked on. We've got Harrogate the week after. On the 8th of February, the 15th of February, we are in York at the Grand Hotel, which is lovely. And then we're back in Leeds on the 22nd of February. So we've got all those. We've got a couple of online events on the 13th and, oh gosh, I can't remember the other date in February, probably about the 20-something of February. So we've got six events.
So you're doing one sort of every week?
The face-to-face ones we are now. Yeah. If I turn up at the right place at the right time, it'd be a miracle. We weren't doing quite so many events last year, but we've upped our game. So we just like to keep busy, and we like to make opportunities for people. So I think the Wakefield one's going to be good. So if anybody can get along, that would be good.
Well, I'll try and get this out as fast as I can.
Don't expect you to get it out before Thursday.
It won't be before Thursday. So, I'm just going to pick your brains for a bit, if you don't mind. So,
okay.
So I'm assuming that in terms of your creative side, that you get to apply that through the social media, and that gives you the kind of outlet, and to some degree, thinking up the networking, events and what's going to be on and so on. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does still feel creative when I'm doing social media posts and the images and things. So I get to do my bit of creation from that point of view. Yes.
So that ticks that box. Obviously, it's a change from being stuck slaving over the oven making cakes and then sending them out into the world and not really meeting your customers, to having a shop, to meeting them, and now to actually directly working with people. There's obviously still a big part of your role that is kind of back office, sat behind, working on your own. Like, how do you feel about that balance now? I get the impression that the experience with the cake business, especially early on, and kind of grabbing moments to work where you could, are you very good at kind of separating work and home in a kind of pick it up and put it down way? Or do you just find yourself always on, like, I'm always in work mode? Like, how do you manage that?
With the cake business, it was very much 24/7 because I didn't have time to answer emails during the day, so that was on an evening, and then there was deliveries on a weekend. And I think to begin with this, because there's the two of us, we were constantly sort of talking about, oh, well, it could be like this, and oh, we could do this and we could do that, on an evening. I think we've got a bit better at it now as time's gone on. And I think we're more, working hours. Occasionally, we'll be sitting there over a meal or whatever, and we'll say, oh, we thought we could do this or we could do that, or, so and so was interested in such and such, and we've got little conversations going on. But generally now we do keep it to sort of business hours. So it has got easier, although it is still quite all consuming, because it's your business at the end of the day, and if you're passionate about it, why won't you talk about it? So yeah, we do try and keep it contained, but often there's a little bit of overlap. And of course it doesn't feel quite so lonely now, because I've got Ian by my side. Well, he's not by my side at the moment, actually. He's gone to the barber's. I sent him out. I said, he'll have to go out. So he's gone.
I could have recorded both of you. I've done dual interviews before. If I'd known, I'd have offered that.
Oh, you'd have been here all day. With two of us.
I don't mind that. It's all content. No, yeah. I mean, it's good to sort of. It's quite nice doing the dual ones and get two different perspectives at the same time.
Oh, if I'd known, I'd have let him stay.
We had the pandemic, and there's been a big excuse to sort of lots of businesses being created and starting up and so on. So there's a part of me that's thinking, like, business Tinder, of like, part of your role is kind of matchmaking and trying to create, but you don't even always know the kind of connections that you want to create. So really, you're kind of trying to create a space for connections to be created.
Yeah, we try to sort of actively curate some conversations between people. If we think that they would, benefit from knowing each other, then we will make sure that they get an introduction at our meeting. I mean, we'll make sure everybody talks to everybody anyway, if we can, at the face-to-face events. Because there's nothing worse than going into a room full of people and everybody's talking and you don't know who to talk to. So we do make sure that, people get involved in conversations. But if there's, if we can see some synergies, if we can see some obvious partnerships that we think will work, then we'll definitely introduce them. There was a couple on the thing this morning. One was a videographer and the other was a guy who does podcasting, and I thought they've probably got something in common. Put them in, in the same breakout room, and lo and behold, they're going to have a good conversation later on. So yeah, it's just spotting those little bridges, those little connections.
Yeah, that can be built upon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't want you to give, you can't be telling other people's stories, but you must have a few stories from doing this of like either something silly that's happened or like good businesses or things like. So I know from doing this podcast, I know of at least one piece of business that's come about off the back of this. So you must get to hear the occasional. Obviously, there'll be loads of stuff that you don't hear about, but you must hear about the occasional thing of like. So give us a couple of stories of like some good outcomes or some unusual outcomes from the kind of networking opportunities that you've provided.
Well, we do a podcast, and a couple that we spoke to a little while ago, they were starting their business, two girls working together, friends, and we put their podcast out and they got business from it straight away. And that was just amazing, really, that we'd help to promote them and that they got some business from it. So that was good. That was unexpected, really. And then a while ago at one of our events, this guy came along. He he'd emailed me beforehand and said, what sort of people come to your event? And it's hard without giving a list of people. I said, well, they're all really nice people. They're all business owners. Oh, well, I don't know if there'll be anybody there who'll be any good for me. And I don't know if it's the right sort of event for me to come to. Da, da, da. And it was, this was this email. I said, well, if nothing else, you get a good cup of coffee. I said, and you'll get to meet some people. I said, please consider coming along. So he did. He turned up. And even then, when he got there, he was like, I don't know if there's anybody here. And that was the last we heard of him. He did spend, he spent the hour and a half with everybody and chatted and all the rest of it. And it wasn't till last week or the week before when we were at an event, one of the guys came up to me who had been at the same event with this guy. And he said, I've been meaning to tell you. He said, that so-and-so who came to the event? I said, oh, yeah, about 3 months ago. He said, yeah. He said, oh, I'm doing some work with him now in the States. And I said, that's really interesting, because he didn't think that anything would come of this networking event. And the guy who we spoke to last week, he was saying he's helping him with this work that he's got in the States. And I said, that is just amazing. I'm just so pleased that somebody who didn't think there was anything for them, got something from it. And it's not always about who is in the room. It's sometimes who they know as well. So, that was like, oh, good. When you hear those success stories, we don't often hear the success stories, which is a shame. And we wish that more people would tell us. They'd just come and tell us. It's sometimes we find out, 6, 12 months down the line, I did such and such with so-and-so, or so-and-so put me in touch with somebody who, who's my next biggest customer. And it's like, yeah, yeah, it works. It's like magic, when we hear that. And it's yeah, that's what we're all about. And that's what we like to do best.
It's alchemy of a sort, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
it's sort of like taking best guesses and doing weird sort of like, we'll do this and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't know what opportunities there are. You just don't know. If you don't go, you're not going to get the opportunity. But if you do go and you talk to as many people as you can and have some conversations, then you've got more chance of coming away with something. It might only be, I don't know, a little bit of information that they have shared that will help you to do something in your business. But that in itself will then develop your business, and you might get 20 more customers as a result of it.
Yeah.
So, it's all those little things, all those.
Or a whole new market.
Yeah. Yeah. A whole new world.
Yeah. So what was going to say on that? I can't remember, but I'll go on to the other point, which I wanted to ask about. So I guess I can't think of a better way to phrase it, so I'm just going to go with a kind of social anxiety thing. So you've mentioned
Mm,
that, oh, the other thing was about time, if I forget again, but you
okay, fine.
you mentioned about sort of people coming. A lot of people, I guess, are put off by being afraid. Some of those people you will see who turn up and they've kind of conquered that fear at least, and they've got in the room.
Mm,
Um, I mean, how do you handle that? How do you get past that barrier? What are the kind of things that you say to people who are new? How do you reach out to people like that to help them feel reassured? Like that guy saying, who comes to this and what sort of thing? And
mm,
you also mentioned in the social media of like when people can see photos of participants, they know people have attended. There's not just going to be them and some other
mm,
random in a room. There's a few people there. Like, how, obviously that social media side, that's conquering some of that of like there are people, they're not scary, they don't have claws.
mm,
You'll be fine. Like, yeah, so how do you, I mean, it must be something that you think about. Like, I know if I was in your position, I'd be like, how do I get these people, and
mm.
how do I encourage them to kind of come out of their shells and come to this thing, because that's also what you're doing, obviously,
Yeah,
with people who are a bit more less social anxiety, but you're still
yeah,
encouraging all of that. So yeah,
yeah.
how do you
I
deal
mean,
with it?
we've been there. We have experienced that. I've been to events and not been acknowledged that I've even walked in the room
Mm,
or when I was leaving that, that I was going. My confidence has obviously improved over the years greatly. Um, and we reassure people. I mean, I had a chat with a lady today. She said, I've booked on for Thursday and I haven't heard anything. I said, don't worry. I said, I will email you tomorrow with all the details, how to get there. So we always send an email with instructions of how to get there, maybe where to park,
hmm
directions of, how to get into the building or whatever.
hmm
I always give my phone number. So if they've got any problems, if they get lost, please ring us. But I said I'll email you tomorrow with all the details. I said, but don't worry, we'll make. She says, oh, I'm new to all this networking. I said, well, don't worry, we will make sure that you get to speak to people. We won't just leave you on your own standing in a corner and we won't leave you stuck with the same person either, because that's
mm
another thing, isn't it?
hmm
Um, you could, I mean, sometimes it's fine talking to the same person all the time,
Yeah.
but that's not the purpose of networking. You want to be having different conversations with different people. So and make sure that we actively move people around and
Mm
get them speaking to different people. But it's just reassuring them. We've got a little checklist, so I sent that out to that lady today, and
hmm
she could have a little look through before she comes, and just letting them know that actually it is just a conversation.
mm
It's not.
There's no
It's
pressure.
nothing. No,
Yeah.
no, there's not. No, no, we don't ask people at the face-to-face events to do um, a 60-second pitch. We don't ask for any awkward intros because, if you're not used to standing up in front of, I don't know, 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, however many people,
mm
you're just not used to it. And you're much more comfortable in a one-to-one or a one-to-two or three situation.
mm
So we don't put people under that pressure. And so we just make that clear. And, they know that they're not going to be put on the spot and, left in the corner.
mm
So it's just reassuring them and making sure that they've got all the information they need before they come. And we've been there, we've done that, and yeah, it's horrible, and but bit of practice, going to the right group,
mm
you know, makes all the difference, really.
Yeah. I mean, one of the thing that I forgot on your earlier point, just about you never know what's going to come out of it. The other
Mm,
thing is time. Like a lot of us, everything is we're very instant gratification. That's my social media question, isn't it? It's like, I did a
mm,
thing. Why hasn't the thing happened for me? I guess a lot of people are they feel like something should happen straight away, or they want something to
mm.
happen straight away. But like you say,
Yeah.
that I mean, that example that you gave with the guy starting new business in America, that took 3 months. And I've heard of other things. It can take years sometimes for a connection to pay off, or like,
Oh,
in
it
a big
can.
financial way or whatever. But
Mm,
it's important to get them, and everyone's an opportunity. Even if they don't want to buy your products, they
mm.
know people who might
Yeah,
want to buy your products.
you might want to buy your product.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Networking is a slow burn. It is, it's a form of marketing, but it's not the fastest form of marketing. It's not, whoa, we've got an advert. This is what we're selling, and it is a slow burn. But there's a lot to be said for building those relationships and keeping in contact with people, and just looking out for opportunities for each other as well, really, which will come. If you help somebody, eventually they will help you back. It's kind of one of those things. Or you like to think that they would help you back if they're decent people, and mostly people are decent, aren't they? They are. So
Yeah.
you
So
know all
before I
about.
sign off, then
Hmm.
I want to ask you a few questions about your podcast.
All
So,
right, go on.
what's it called, and where can people find it? First of all.
It's called In Business Talks 2,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of do two podcasts really, because one's the In Business Talks 2 and the In Business Friday Fix.
Mm-hmm.
The In Business Talks 2 is where we talk to other business couples
Mm-hmm.
in business. They could be father and son, they could be friends, they can be husband and wife,
Mm.
because there's different dynamics within every relationship,
Mm.
and just to find out how they run their business,
That's a
and
great idea.
talking to them. Yeah, it's been great. We've spoken to people in the States and all over the place.
It's a really good niche as well, because it's because you can go global with that, because that gives you enough people to kind of choose from.
Mm, yeah.
But it's nicely niche as well, because you can discount loads of people, but you've also got a nice pool of people to search
Mm,
from. So yeah.
yeah,
So how long have you
yeah,
been
and
doing that?
it must be a couple of years now.
Mm.
So it's interesting just talking and finding out how they run their business,
Mm-hmm.
and who does what within the business, and how their roles have evolved, and how that it's all come about,
Mm-hmm.
and why they started the business in the first place, and things like that. And then the In Business Talks to Friday Fix is just more of a we talk to business owners, and they share a bit of knowledge. So it's a bit like our education sessions
Mm-hmm.
at our events, but they're sharing a little bit of knowledge on it, whatever it is their subject is, whether it's HR or recruitment or marketing. You know, people can listen and think, oh yeah, that will help me, and get stuff from it. I think the talks to one's a bit more self-indulgent, because we're just chatting with people who are other business owners, but it's really nice. And people, if people are going to start in a business with somebody, I think they will pick up some important things to think about,
Mm.
because it's not straightforward being in a business partnership.
Mm.
Things can go wrong if you've not got the same vision for the business. If one wants to go off on one direction, the other wants to go off in another
Mm.
direction. Things. I know so many business partnerships that have, fallen by the wayside.
Mm.
So I think it's, listening to other couples in business, or other pairs of people in business.
Mm.
You can learn a lot from that if you are thinking of going into business with somebody. So
Mm.
yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. We set ourselves up to do 2 a week in the beginning, and it was just unmanageable.
Mm.
So now we do one a fortnight,
Mm.
and we try to alternate between the couples and the Friday Fix. So yeah, if you'd like to be a guest on our Friday Fix, you'd be more than welcome.
Mm. Cool. I might
Yeah,
take you up
or,
on that.
or if there are any business partners out there, we'd love to hear from them.
I mean, like I'm thinking that, like I mentioned, it being a kind of matchmaking service. I mean, have you brought any business partnerships together, or is that something that, is there a way to foster that or to develop that? Like, could you have an incubator for business partnerships? Like, I don't know, but like, working on your own again, sometimes if you're thinking about having, oh, it'd be nice to have a business partner, but, other than you putting something on social media of like, I was a business partner, can't necessarily think how you would go about that. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and the other thing is soft skill, like other soft skills. I mean, obviously your education stuff, you're doing a lot of, very kind of it will be very business focused, I imagine, very kind of practical, physical, real kind of processes and systems and how to do and legislation. The soft skills stuff of like, how do you manage, mental well-being, and like, how do you develop confidence, or how do you develop your public speaking, or all of those kind of things. I mean, do you veer
Yeah,
into that area?
we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We've had people talking about confidence, people talking about goal setting,
Mm.
various different aspects of things. Because, yeah, it's if you yourself as a person are more confident, you're well, you're healthy,
Mm.
then you're going to be in a better position to run a business, aren't you?
And a better
You know,
mood.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we look at the whole, not just the business aspects of things, because everything else underpins
Mm.
the whole business, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because I mean, do you see it? Do you see it in that kind of holistic sense, or do you see it more as like we're supporting kind of the emotional, personal needs of startups more, or we're giving them the hard skill? Because initially at the beginning of the conversation, it was like we need spaces to give people the skills because they might not necessarily have them, and to acquire those skills and so on. So do you see it kind of a mix of that hard and soft skills being together, and that it's kind of about that emotional support as much as there's knowledge? Or do you think it biases one side or the other?
I think it is a more of a holistic approach, because, I mean, the members all get support from each other,
Mm.
sort of moral support from each other, as well
Mm.
as, learning from maybe their mistakes, or how they've done something in the past.
Mhm.
But definitely a whole approach to that. Yeah.
Mm. How's it kind of formed over the years? Has it always been like this and it's kind of got more of itself, or is it sort of been a bit more
Um,
jagged and you've had to kind of smooth off the edges and get it into a way you want it?
yeah. I mean, I think originally it was more about, oh, you need to know how to do this, this, and this to run a business.
Hmm.
But we all know there's more to run a business than this, and this. Um, there's so many other factors that can affect your mood, affect your health, and if those things aren't good,
Mm.
then it will affect the business.
Mm.
So I think as time has gone on, we've kind of developed the whole ethos of it all, and I think as well, because we are a little bit older, people perhaps look to us for a bit of advice, because we're not like 20 odd and we've started a business.
Mm.
We've had that experience, and I do remember one of our members saying, they joined in business because we have been there and done that,
Mm.
and we would understand that, that whole business.
Yeah.
We have experience, and we just want to share that.
Mm.
We do. We want to share what we know, and we're not experts by any means. I wouldn't profess to be an expert on marketing or anything. We have learnt a lot, but I would never ever ever say, "Oh, I know about this. I know about that."
I think you can if you're
And
charging people, though. You're an expert in networking.
so, yeah,
Yeah. I think if anything you're getting paid for, if someone's giving you money to do that thing, you know how to do the thing,
yeah. I know, but I couldn't charge people to tell them about marketing. I couldn't, or anything else. I couldn't.
No.
But I'm just happy to arrange people, for people to do that to our members, so that they can all learn.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity that's actually an opportunity rather than give me money. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, you will actually get the opportunity to do things, meet people, and have other opportunities come out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, so this will be my final question. I know there's a fair bit of networking stuff that goes on in Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, because this is something that I want to try and find for the podcast for myself, but where do people find money now? Like, how do it used to be that there was like Business Link or something like that, and they would go and tell you and maybe look at your business plan and advise you of like where to seek funding. Everything seems to be kind of go and find a VC now. Like, is there a gap for either educating people on where to find startup money and capital and venture capital and stuff?
No, there's a lot of people about. I mean, there's organisations like Adventure and the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. They're both two great organisations that, if you are starting your business, they will give you lots of advice. There might be some little courses that you can do through them, which don't cost you any money. And you might get a business mentor out of it as well, so that they can help you to get your business going and what direction to take it in. And they will have information about maybe not so much grants, but business loans, startup loans. And we have people in our networking who advise on that sort of thing as well, but it's that's maybe more of a paid service that they do. So if people have money, then they can pay for that service. People will help you get a loan and help you to spend it.
Sounds like my kind of job.
Sounds like mine too. But yeah, there's lots of information, and there's, of course, there is the FSB as well, and they do lots of training and have advice and stuff. So there is so much out there for small businesses, and the opportunities for small businesses is brilliant. There's, I don't know how many, I can't quote it because I don't know, but the number of people that have started a business since lockdown, that has risen exponentially. I think people are giving it a go, and why not? Because
it's only 12 quid.
I would encourage anybody to start who's thinking of starting a business to start a business, because it's been the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and if you fail, you can always start another one. So long as you haven't failed too badly,
you start another one, or you go get a job.
Yeah.
It depends what sort of person you are.
Thank you again to Tracey for being my guest. If you'd like to start networking in Leeds, then why not give We Are in Business a try? Get in touch with them at weareinbusiness.co.uk. Thanks as always to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. If you're in Leeds or from Leeds, if you are Leeds, then please be the guest on this show. Yes, I'm speaking to you. I still need to find 888 lawyers to interview, so being a guest is the greatest help. You'll get free advertising and media experience, and you'll be part of a unique project in our unique city. Whatever you do, I'm interested to hear about it. You don't have to be an online person, and you can even be anonymous in your episode if you'd like. You will enjoy recording it. Like, share, follow, and subscribe to Working Hours wherever you can. Please rate and review Working Hours, and please help to support Working Hours financially with either a regular or a one-off donation of any amount. Go to patreon.com/workinghourspod to give monthly from £1 a month, or go to ko-fi.com/workinghours to donate any amount you'd like. It's just a few clicks. It's honestly not difficult, so please don't be put off. Your donation could lead to the next episode coming out on time. I'll be adding a wish list soon for anyone who would prefer to pay for things like platforms and or kit for the project. You can email Working Hours at workinghourspod@western-studios.com. Okay, that's me. Work for peace and plan with kindness. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios, Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Go to western-studios.com and use the contact page on the site to drop me a message about either Working Hours or about your own Leeds podcast project. Keep up to date with Working Hours and find out about the other great Leeds podcasts that Western Studios is involved with by following Western Studios Leeds on Facebook at facebook.com/western_studios_Leeds and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Western Studios Leeds is available to loaners to help them realise their own podcast projects for only £30 for an hour of audio podcast work or £40 for an hour of video podcast work. Email makemypodcast at western-studios.com with details of your project and what support you want to get your Leeds podcast made. Whatever your podcast question or need, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds.